Hello and welcome to Morten's Corner. The scope of today will be how to troubleshoot the replay. So to talk to you a little bit about when the replay is used, it can be used to reflect UI update changes. So let's say that you made changes to your user interface in your application and you want that reflected in all the work instructions you've done. Then you can use the replay to automatically update the work instructions with the new refreshed screens. You can also use it if you want to change the data. So let's say you want the replay to, if you want a work instruction to pick another customer or use another product or something like that, you can just change the data layer and run the replay, and then those changes will also be reflected in your work instructions. Finally, you can use it for multi-language. So let's say you have a fully English recording and you want that in a fully localized Spanish version, for example. You can use the replay on your Spanish user interface to catch all the Spanish pictures and the Spanish phrases, stuff like that. So you'll have two fully localized layers of language in your recording. Then we'll go into some of the reasons for failure, such as the data already exists, or if data has been changed, or we'll also do a multi-language test with some search options, so you can see how you can modify your recordings for better success in your replays. So let us go ahead and make a recording where we are creating some data that will then already exist when we do the replay. Yeah? So let's go ahead and create a new product. I'm going to give this product ID of 8, and this ID is unique, and it can only exist once in this specific ERP system. So it will complain when we try to create it again with the same ID. But let's get to that in a sec. So there we have it, right? Let's go ahead and start this process. Yep. Cool. So let's go ahead and do a replay of that. The sort of error we're going to encounter now is extremely common, and it's just a concept that it's very easy to understand once you see it working, but it's just something that a lot of people, it's a trap that a lot of people fall into. They kind of forget how their ERP system works when you use the replay, right? So you got to remember to fix the data part. So here you can see that the ERP system throws an error, and the replay will fail in a sec because now it cannot find. It says click on active product field service, right? That's in the main overview. It cannot do that because it's not on that screen, so it cannot find that item, right? And it's not allowed to go back to the screen because there is a conflict with the ID. So let's go ahead and fix that. So let me just go back to the product screen. Discard, and let's open the editor. Then our recording should pop up any second now. All right. So you'll see it plastered all over red screens. These screens are there to tell you that there is inconsistency in the recording. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just there's inconsistency and you shouldn't use it for documentation because half of it has been updated and the other half has not. This is quite a simple process, but imagine you had a more complex process where every step is very dependent on each other. And if you had someone follow this, it might have they might create errors in your system, right? Because they're following a wrong process, which is faulty. So you should always update it before you use it for documentation and publish it for your end users. So let's go into the data editor role. This is where you change which items are selected and which text you're actually entering into the system. So let's go ahead and change this number 8 to a number 9. And then we should be able to successfully replay it. Let's give that a shot. Of course, in this specific case, I could also have chosen to just delete that piece of data. But there are some systems and some processes you go through that you're not allowed to delete. I remember specifically in IFS, there are some things you just cannot delete. Once you've entered them, they are there until an admin deletes them. So it also depends on your role and the ERP system you use, stuff like that. So in our case, what we're doing here is just to use also the data that ClickLearn uses in order to successfully replay the data, right? And here we go. So now we have two items. We have a hammer, which has the item number 8, and we have a hammer, which has item number 9, right? Product ID, sorry. So now we have created two, no worries. And our recording is successful now. And it's going to look like, let's go have a look at it. Yeah, all the screens are there now. And you also see that the number 9 is being used in our replay. And everything is good. So yeah, that's how you can fix that, you know, a data already exists. That's how you get around it. So let's talk a little bit about data has been changed. Okay, let us just ready up our CRM here. I'm gonna go home and let's go ahead and make a new recording where we change something in a process, and then we will see that the replay will fail because it cannot. The data that we're trying to find has now been changed, so we can no longer replay it. We can no longer follow the process. So let's say like that. Okay. So I'm just going to record my process now. And I have an opportunity here. Let's add some data to this. So let's click on it. And let's add some stuff here. So opening up the recording now, just to show you the data layer here. So here you can see that it's picking it's picking this item called building truck stop, and there are no more values set. So when you pick data in an ERP system in a table such as this, it picks a row, right? And in that row there are a bunch of columns that have specific values. In this case, none of the values are set. There is a value set down here called opportunity rating code. If I change the opportunity rating code in the ERP system, it will no longer be the same piece of data, and this would fail. So of course, what you can then do, you can come in here and you can then say you have to not look for all of this, but only for building truck stop, and then ignore the opportunity rating code because I know it has changed, right? That's one way to do it. You can of course also add it and go here, double click it, and just modify it to 3 if that is the case. Yeah. So that's how you can always make sure that you track your data changes and make sure you're actually picking the new item that you created, because it's technically no longer the same item, right? Let's try to run this replay and let's see what happens. Due to the way that CRM or CE is made, I think this should actually pass. But if we had I picked another value somewhere, or if I use, for example, IFS, it would definitely not pass because it's very picky. It's very picky with exactly which row is being chosen in a table. Especially if you have thousands of rows. If you unselect, like you saw I did, in the beginning I only selected the name, it will just pick the first one available. So let's say you had a bunch of products scattered over a few sites. So if I only take the product ID, it's going to pick the first one available. But if I want a product that's located in a specific site, I'd have to check both the product and the site that is located at in order to find the correct item. Also, I could have a column called quantity in stock, for example. I wanted some place that had a quantity in stock, right? I cannot pick an item where the stock is equal to 0. So that's how you can mess around with the data to pick and choose what you want to do with your replays. Yeah, let's try to replay it and let's see what happens. So the first thing is going to say that the data has been changed. And that is because this Joe's hardware store and the contact Joe Hammer is no longer the same line anymore, right? So in order to fix this with changed data, we'd have to go to the data editor and sort it out. Let's do that now. Go to the data editor. And let's edit this. And let's say, you know what? I don't really care. Currently, right, it's looking for a blank cell here, but we have a customer name in here now. So let's say, just go for this and you will find it. Just care about the name of the opportunity, and that's it. There are also some other options available. Let's say that we are clicking on multiple columns in the same row. we can use the row that is currently in focus. That will then pick the first available row, and it will keep doing actions to the same row. Let's say if we had more clicks into the row, right? You can also use a predefined row number. So if you know that you're going into, for example, if you're adding a text code or something like that, and you know there are 5 available codes and they're always in the same order, you can tell it, okay, just always pick code number 3. So if you have a table of text codes, it's always gonna pick the 3rd one, for example. There are some instances where you want to use this. But for our case, this is very data heavy, so we want to pick the right one. In this case, we're just going to go for the name. Let's try to replay it again. And now I can successfully find it. I'm going to stop the replay here because it will now complain that the contact field is not empty. There is a name in here now. So it's unhappy about that, and that's fine. We only corrected the first steps for a demonstration. So let's move on. So the last thing I want to talk about is how you can change the search values to make sure that you're finding the correct content even though you run it in another language. Okay, so for that I have trusty old Business Central, which is actually not old at all. This is version 18. And let us try to create a process here and then run in another language, yeah? So let's go ahead and do that now. This is also a very common thing I see, so I chose to include it. When you use the search menu to navigate through your ERP system, what the word you search for is not necessarily the same in the replayed language, right? So here I'm searching for sales, but when I replay it in Danish, sales is not the correct word to search for anymore. So I'm going to show you how you can change that. Also, in general, I would consider using the search altogether. I would probably teach people, since your audience is probably going to be new people who maybe not so familiar with BC. I would recommend that you rather send them through the menu system so they can be taught how the system is built and give them a better understanding of how everything is organized in the user interface. So going through the search is great if you're familiar with the system, but it doesn't really teach you how it's laid out, right? But let's go for a sales order, okay? And that's it. Let's go back. There we are. And let's stop the recorder here. So let's pop back in here and change our language. And let's try to run the replay now. So here I'll pick Danish and let's go. So here you can see that it fails because it cannot find the correct item when it's searching for sales. So let us change what it's searching for so we can find the right item. Oops, I've got two of them open. No worries. So let's go to data editor. And let's switch that to Danish. So instead of searching for sales, because that is not a Danish word, I'm going to change the word to the Danish word called salg. Let's save that. And now you'll see that English has sales, Danish has salg. So let's try to do replay now. Then we should identify the right item. Make sure my PC is ready. It's on the main screen. All right, let's go. So I think it didn't save our changes. Let's just go back and make those again. And the reason being, I was impatient and double clicked it while I was also opening another recording at the same time. So I don't think it had the chance to save it. Patience is a virtue. So let's do the replay again. And now it went to the correct place and it went back. So that's how you can modify the search words. It's quite relevant for places where it's localized, right? Like the menu system up here when you search. And there could be places when you fill out, for example, an invoice, and then the currency, it might be written in the local language, right? So there you may also need to adjust the word. And there can be other places too where it's translated in the other UI version. It really depends on your ERP system and the exact process. But some places you may need to do these adjustments in the data editor. Cool. So best practice for all this. Don't panic when you see the risk screens. They're there to help you out. They're just there to let you know that you need to make some adjustments, and then you can do your replay again, right? So, and they're also, of course, there to let you know that the process is now incomplete and you should not use it for documentation until you have corrected it. For the replay, do a backup of your vital recordings. If you have some super important process and you just want to do the replay because you're updating parts of it, or you want to try it out or whatever, just make a backup. So you have a backup. In Attain, there are version numbers, so you can always go back to a previous version. You can always downgrade. But it's still nice to have a backup just in case. And finally, the replay is there if you need to reflect changes you made in your UI, if you want to make changes to the data, or if you are, for example, upgrading from one version of your ERP to the next. Like you saw me on BC18, if I wanted to upgrade from BC18 to BC19, and there was some changes there and I want those reflected, I can use the replay to help me do that, so I don't have to re-record all my processes myself. So there's no need to replay something unless you have a purpose of doing so. So that's it. So for the replay, keep only one window with one tab in one browser instance open. Otherwise, the replay might read data from another tab, and it could fail because it's saying, well, the item is not available over here where I'm looking. So just to avoid that, just keep it clean with only what you are currently using open. And the same if you're recording applications such as IFS apps, for example. If you have two IFS apps, one on each screen could be, then it's actually reading the other screen too. So it might find data in the other instance of the app and say, hey, I cannot find what I'm looking for. So ClickLearn sees all the apps that you have open that it supports. So make sure you only have the one open you're using. And again, lastly, there's always a logical explanation for a replay failure. As you saw in our examples here, it was pretty straightforward what the reason was. So there's always an explanation. Don't panic. Just try to sort it out, and you're always welcome to reach out to us, and we can help you out. Yeah. So yeah, I hope you found this this little video helpful, and of course you're always welcome to leave a comment on the community or reach out on support, and we'll look at it together. Yeah. Have a good one.